Well, I've shown you several recipes using chicken wings. Of course, chicken wings by itself is a recipe. I've also shown you how to make lollipops of several kinds. Now, by now, I'm sure you know that it all comes from the same part of the chicken, which is the wing and the winglet. Now, the winglet can be trimmed off, but I know a lot of people love biting onto it and literally chomping onto that part of the chicken, but that's, again, a complete personal choice. Retain it, trim it off, I leave it to you. This recipe, if possible, do not kind of tweak in the ingredients, because I understand you sometimes love adding a little less of this and a little more of that and things like that. But this is absolutely tried and tested over several years of experience. So in my personal opinion, stick to the recipe and just follow it the way I'm showing. Well, talking about tried and tested, let's dive in straight to the marination mix. And for this, of course, it's going to begin with red onions, roughly cut. To this, I'm going to add in some spring greens. Now for this recipe, traditionally, habanero is used, but of course in India, you can use these spicy chilies, make it wonderful and spicy. Lots of black pepper, cloves of garlic. The next thing that goes in is some dark soy sauce, brown sugar, fresh lemon juice. For a recipe like this, I personally like using soft brown sugar or muscovado. Let's add in allspice powder, cinnamon powder, cumin seeds, which are untoasted. Well, roasted and unroasted cumin seeds actually give a very different layer of flavor. So this recipe is untoasted cumin seeds. Now to this, I'm adding in some herbs. Now these are dried herbs. You can use a combination of thyme and oregano in dried form as well as fresh. If you want this recipe to be slightly more accentuated, you can actually use a combination of dried and fresh both, and that also turns out wonderfully well. To this, I'm adding in a little piece of nutmeg. Now this also brings in that element of sweetness and earthiness in this recipe. Do not use nutmeg powder, which is freely available in the market as well, because that way the flavor is not very pronounced. It kind of evaporates and you don't want that to happen. Let's add in some oil. Now this is regular vegetable oil. I'm just adding this so that making a paste or running this into a paste becomes slightly easier. Of course, by all means, you can add in oil later also while marinating or while rubbing this marinade onto the chicken. Let's add in some salt, keeping the quantity of chicken wings in mind, please remember. Let's cover this with a cap and grind this into a smooth paste. Well, intermittently, we also want to scrape the sides to ensure that all of this grinds beautifully well. Keep pushing this right into the center and grind this again. Let's have a quick check. This has to be extremely smooth, and that's where the magic of the spice mix will start unveiling its charm. Let's add this in. Scrape this till its last bit, because this is where the entire taste and flavor lies. Let's mix and bring all of this together. Well, as a marination, this possibly could be a little lesser on the appetizing side in terms of its color, but trust me, when this starts getting those brown bits after grilling or cooking in an oven or pan frying, trust me, it's going to be very different. It's going to be very tasty. Let's mix all of this together. Our chicken is mixed and ready. And now here comes the fun part. You can cook this recipe in 3 different ways. One, you can use an oven and cook this at 200 degrees Celsius for around 40 minutes. You don't need to brush, you don't need to do anything in that. And that way it also turns nice and crisp and brown on the outside and nicely juicy and succulent within. The second step is cooking this straight in a kadhai or a pan. Now, you do not need to add in oil, because the oil of fat from the chicken is also going to release, and that's going to become the fat that will eventually start basting the chicken. And the third method is using an air fryer. I understand a lot of you have got fancy about using an air fryer, but trust me, that also works magic. I'm going to use the technique of pan frying. Very carefully, let's place these chicken wings at the bottom of the pan. We need to cook this chicken on high flame to begin with, at least till the outsides get wonderfully seared. And also, if you see, there is some marination which is left right here, which is going to be used later. Once the chicken is almost half done, we're going to slide in this wonderful marination so that it gets nice and juicy even on the outside. Well, time and again, I'm going to keep flipping these because I don't want them to get extremely charred. Of course, that wonderful browning on the outside is imperative for a recipe like this. And if you notice, I'm using a fork for something like this because it's just easy. You just poke it, prick it, lift it, and give it a flip. Simple. The chicken has beautifully caramelized on the outside. Time to add in the remaining marination. Let's swirl this around and give this a few gentle flips. Our chicken wings are beautifully cooked and ready. They're wonderfully sticky and brown on the outside, wonderfully and beautifully caramelized. And that's actually thanks to the soy sauce, the onions, brown sugar, and the brown spices that we've used. On that note, let's pick these individually and start placing on a large platter.
Majestic chicken. Here I have 500 grams of boneless chicken which I have cut into long strips. I'm going to marinate that with 250 ml of buttermilk and salt. I'm going to mix this well. And I'm going to let it rest in the refrigerator for 2 hours. Now after 2 hours, I'm just going to remove these pieces from the buttermilk and put it in a separate bowl. To this I'm going to add a little bit of salt, 3 to 4 tablespoons of flour, plain flour, a teaspoon of ginger paste, a teaspoon of garlic paste. Just going to mix this well. Now I'm going to crack an egg in this. Mix it well with the chicken. Now let's keep this in the refrigerator for an hour. Now after an hour, we need to simply deep fry these pieces of chicken. For that, I've already kept oil to be heated. Our chicken is nice and crisply fried. We're done with frying the chicken. Now let's get on with the recipe. I have heated 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to add 3 cloves of garlic that I've chopped. And I'm going to add few curry leaves and 3 green chilies that I have chopped. To this, I'm going to add a teaspoon of ginger paste, a heaped teaspoon, and a heaped teaspoon of garlic paste. Saute this till the raw smell goes off. Here I have a cup of whipped curd, which I'm going to add. I like it nice and spicy, so I'm going to add a tablespoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a tablespoon of coriander seed powder, a teaspoon of cumin seed powder, quarter teaspoon of pepper powder, and quarter cup of mint. We're going to saute this masala till it's nice and dry. Now let's add a teaspoon of soy sauce, a tablespoon of red chili sauce, very little salt to taste, finely chopped fresh coriander leaves, juice of half a lemon, and I'm going to just add the fried chicken to this and coat the chicken pieces well with this. And our chicken Majestic is ready to be served. Let's garnish this with some freshly chopped coriander leaves. And you can serve them as a party snack, or you can have it with chapatis as well.
Spicy coriander chicken. Let's begin with marinating the chicken. Now this is boneless chicken breast because of course it cooks in a jiffy, and for a starter which could be last minute, this just works wonders. To this I'm going to add in turmeric. Now because this is a spicy coriander based starter, I'm not going to use red chilies. I'm going to use lots of green chilies to accentuate, rather increase the taste and increase the flavor of coriander. I've added in roasted coriander seeds which are crushed. To this I'm going to add in garam masala powder along with black pepper powder, salt of course as required, and we mix this and keep it aside. And let's move on to the second component, and that is actually the heart of this recipe, and that is the spicy coriander chutney. So let's begin with coriander, of course, sorted, washed and ready. To this I'm going to add in chilies. Now these are chilies actually of two varieties. Now of course this one, which is the darker green chili, is the spicier version, and this one, which is the paler green, is the non-spicy version. Well, the darker one of course has a lot of spice, has a lot of pungency, and the lighter one has a lot of flavor. So of course I like using a mix of these two chilies, but you can choose the chilies that you like. To this I'm going to add in peeled garlic cloves, and along with this ginger. Without adding water, I'm going to cover this and run this into a paste. With this, our spicy coriander chutney is done and ready. The next step is to move on to, of course, cooking all of this. For this, I'm going to heat a wok on high flame and add in oil. Well, of course, this recipe can also be made with ghee or butter, but oil, I think, just works perfectly for me. Once the oil heats up, I'm going to add in bay leaves, and along with this, chopped red onions. We need to cook the onions till they lightly get golden brown in color. Time to add in the marinated chicken. And along with this, I'm also going to add in the chutney. Stir this well and cook this on high flame for 6 to 7 minutes. With this, our spicy coriander chicken is done and ready. This is only cooked on high flame. Do not reduce the flame, because if you reduce the flame, the chicken will start leaving its water, will start leaving its moisture, and that will almost make this like a gravy. Do not do that. Cook this only on high flame. Finally, after shutting the flame, I'm going to add in lemon juice. Give this a quick mix, and this straight goes in the serving platter.
Today I'm going to make a delicious chicken recipe called Peri Peri Chicken Alfam. So let's start cooking. To prepare the Peri Peri Chicken Alfam, first we'll make the dry roast masala. For that, first I'll take 2 bay leaf, coriander seeds, cumin seeds, black peppercorn, 4 green cardamom pods, fennel seeds, next cinnamon stick, few pieces of clove and dry red chili. We are going to dry roast the spices till the color starts changing and the aroma is released. And once done, we'll keep the dry roast spices for cooling and then we'll grind it into a nice fine powder. And there you go guys, our dry roast masala is now ready. Now we'll move on to the masala paste. For that, I'm going to take a jar. In that, I'm going to add roughly cut onion, roughly cut tomato, 15 small cloves of garlic. If you're using big, you can add just 5 to 6. Sliced ginger, half cup coriander, half cup mint. Cover and blend it into a fine paste. Both the masalas are ready. Let's start preparing the marination. For that, first I'm going to take curd and then we'll add the masala paste. Then turmeric powder, peri peri powder, garam masala, and the dry roast masala which we made earlier. To this, I'm going to add lemon juice, some salt, and last, oil. Now let's mix it all together and apply it on the chicken. So guys, the marination is ready. Let's put gashes in the chicken and then marinate it. The marination process is done. Now I'm going to let the chicken rest for at least 15 minutes and then we'll start grilling. I'm going to add oil. The chicken is rested well. Let's start grilling. We'll grill the chicken on both sides for at least 10 minutes and then we'll start with the plating. Our chicken alfam is nicely grilled. Now we'll make the peri peri rub. For that, I'm going to switch on the gas, add little oil. Once the oil is little hot, I'm going to add ketchup. To the ketchup also, I'm going to add chili flakes, red pepper sauce, peri peri powder, black pepper powder, lime juice and salt. Now let's mix it all together. Cook it for at least 2 to 3 minutes, then we'll brush it on the chicken alfam and we'll directly serve it. And there you go guys, our peri peri chicken alfam is now ready.